Now, the word linear means straight, and that accounts for the name of these equations, because if you took one and plotted a few points, joined them up, sure enough, you'd have a nice straight line. So how do you know when you have a linear equation? Well, these are the easiest ones, because they never contain x squareds or x cubes or any power like that. And generally speaking, they don't have any fractions in which the variable is in the denominator. Or to put it another way, there are no fractions where the letter is at the bottom of the fraction. So let's have a look at a few examples. These are all linear equations. 5y plus 7 equals 92. Negative 3x plus 8 equals 12. And 6 subtract 4p is negative 23. Now, solving these is really quite simple if you think of the equation as a weighing balance. The equals sign tells you that what's on the left balances what's on the right. And what we need to do is to juggle the terms so that we end up with the letter, the variable, on its own on one side of the equation. But the important thing to remember is that whatever you do to one side, you must also do to the other, or the balance will no longer balance, and we won't be able to use the equals sign anymore. To demonstrate this, let's solve the equation 4x plus 9 equals 37. The first thing we do is to look at the left-hand side where the variable, the letter, is, and we can see that if we subtract 9, we will be left with just 4x. After all, the left-hand side literally means work out 4 times x and then add 9. So if we subtract the 9, we must be back to just 4x. So subtracting the 9 gives us the 4x on the left side. Now we must remember to do the same on the right hand side. So 37 subtract 9 is 28. Now we have 4x equals 28. To isolate x, all we need to do is divide 4x by 4, and we must remember to do this on the right hand side too, giving x is 7, and that's our answer. Now, a lot of people are never quite sure what to do first. Going back to the equation 4x plus 9 equals 37, should they divide by 4 first, or should they subtract the 9 first? Well, it's easy to work out if you think of the equation like pass the parcel. Do you remember that game you probably played as a child? Somebody took a prize and wrapped some paper around it, and then another layer, and then another layer. The important thing to realise is that when the children undo the parcel, the layer that went on last comes off first, and so on all the way back to the prize. The layer that was put on first is the last one off. And that's what we have to do with the equation. So if we have 4x plus 9, that means take the x, multiply it by the 4 and add 9. So the plus 9 must be the first thing we have to get rid of. And that's why we subtract the 9 first. Now we can demonstrate this with a more complicated example in which we have 3 layers. Take the equation 11p subtract 5 all over 2 equals 25. If you think about the pass the parcel analogy, the examiners took the p and multiplied it by 11. Secondly, they subtracted 5. And finally, they divided by 2. So to solve this equation, we must undo things in the reverse order. So the first thing to do is to get rid of the divide by 2. The way we get rid of this is to do the opposite, to multiply by 2. And we must remember, of course, to do the same to both sides of the equation. So on the left, we have 11p subtract 5 divided by 2, and then we multiply that by 2, and the 2's cancel, giving 11p subtract 5. And on the right, we simply have 25 multiplied by 2 equals 50. So now we have the equation 11p subtract 5 is 50. The second thing to get rid of is the subtract 5, and we do this by adding 5, not forgetting to add 5 to the right hand side too. And this gives us 11p equals 55. Now, simply dividing by 11 gives p equals 5, and that's our answer. What could be simpler?